All right, so we're going over this worksheet 4.4. Let me draw the picture first. It's number 4 on page 49. In fact, let's write that up there. So it's the worksheet, but it's page 49 because there's two sides to this. It's page 49, and it's number 4. Let's do that over here. Number 4. So everybody should be looking at it. It'll just take me a minute here to get this drawn. Now I'm going to give you some problems from the book. Everybody listen to me now while I'm drawing this thing. I'm going to give you some problems from the book tonight. So when you see a problem from the book, if it's not a worksheet, I do expect you to draw everything out. So everything that I'm doing right here for this problem, you need to do for the homework tonight. And I'll give you what that lesson is after we're done here. And let's label it. This is A, D, and C up here. And it's B down here at the bottom. All right, so there's the picture. So on tonight's homework, if they give you a picture, and they will, on every one of these problems, they'll give you a picture, and they're going to give you some stuff that says given, and then something that says prove. All this stuff that I'm writing right here, you need to write on your work when you turn it in tomorrow. If I don't see it, then I'm going to say show your work, I'm going to take off points and everything else. Everybody understand that? So I want you to draw the picture out. You have to draw the picture out when it's from the book. Now, if it's the worksheet, and everybody should be writing this down on this worksheet, because a lot of you guys don't really know what I expect on this worksheet. So we're kind of doing it together. We're going to go over every single problem. Okay? I didn't quite go over number 3, but we're going to, from 4 on, we're going to go through every single problem here. So, and I'm going to collect it today after class. So it's basically, if you can sit and copy what I write down, you should be able to have this homework done and completed and get a 5 on it. Okay, it's as simple as that. If you don't get a 5 on it, you just can't even copy something straight from the board. That's as simple as that. So everybody should be writing this stuff down. So in the book, they'll give you a picture, they'll show the given, and they'll show you the prove. I want you to write all that stuff down. On the worksheet, you don't have to copy it over again. It's already sitting there right on the worksheet. But if it's from the book, I want you to copy all this down. So look what they give you. They give you that AB is equal to CB, line segments. And they also say that D, point D, is the midpoint, I'm going to shorten that a little bit, just put MP for midpoint, of line segment AC. Alright, that's the stuff that they tell you about this picture right here. And they ask you to prove that the two triangles, now there's more than just two triangles in this picture, but triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. Alright, so all that stuff, it's already on your paper, but let's say this was from the book. You should have drawn the picture, label the points, write down all the given, write down what you're trying to prove. That's what you should do. That's just straight up copying from the book. Everybody understand me on this? I'm repeating myself several times because I just have a feeling that tomorrow somebody's going to come in here and say, well, I didn't know you were supposed to draw all that stuff out. Well, I've said it on a couple of occasions here, and I'll probably say it again. So let's do this. Let's go to another color here. Let's go to yellow. It stands out pretty good. Everything that I see and everything that you see in yellow is basically part of your answer. So if you have a quiz on this if this is a test question, this is what I'm going to look for your answer. Everything that you see in yellow. Everybody understand that? So we look down here at the given. It says that line segment AB is equal to line segment CB. So we're taking a look at this picture. How do I show that? That's part of getting the answer right on this problem, is showing that this stuff is equal. Just little tick marks, exactly right. So let's put a tick mark here and tick mark there. So that's part of your answer. It's not your whole answer, but it's part of your answer. Pretty simple, isn't it? Couldn't be any easier than that. All right, so you put a couple little tick marks. They tell you something else. They say that point D is the midpoint of line segment AC. Well, let's come up here and find that. Here's AC from here to here. What does it say about point D? Okay, it splits it in half. All right, it's a midpoint. So what does that tell you about maybe some of the segments, the line segments on this? You got it, okay, that AD is equal to DC. If this is the midpoint, this is the halfway point between A and C. So what must be true about AD and DC? If this is the halfway point, what's true about those two segments? They got to be congruent. They got to be equal to each other. Does that make sense? All right. And how do we know that's the midpoint? They told us. They told us that D was the midpoint. You can't just assume it. Okay, they told us that D was the midpoint. But you can say, if D is the midpoint, you can say now that AD equals DC. Would you agree with that? So that took a little bit more thought than the first given. The first given, you saw which sides were equal, you just marked them equal, no big deal. On this one, you had to think a little bit. They didn't tell you that the two segments were equal, they just told you that this was the midpoint. Since they told you this is the midpoint, we had to think a little bit about what that meant. What does it mean for D being the midpoint? Well, it splits it in half, right? Or it makes two equal segments. So we mark those two segments equal to each other. Now, before we get to the next thing, we've learned up to this point 2 ways so far to prove that two triangles are congruent to each other. What is the first way we learned how to prove triangles were congruent? The first way. Well, I mean, after that, we learned 3 things. You only had to show 3 things. Okay, if all the sides are equal. What do we call that when all the sides are equal? No. No, as far as the triangles being congruent to each other. Side, side, side. Okay. As far as showing the sides or the triangles congruent to each other, that was 1. Side, side, side. What was the second way we were able to prove triangles congruent? Good. Side, angle, side. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. Is there any way that we could say that we know any angles that are equal to each other?
C and it looks like DB and AC.
AB. If you say AB, that doesn't mean anything when you're talking about an angle. Angle A,
That's what I meant. I meant angle.
like this angle right here. How do you know this is equal? Does that say anything about the angle? Because this side's equal to this side? Oh, yeah, you actually could do that, couldn't you? I didn't even think about that. You could if you wanted to. Right, if you had this big triangle right here, ABC, that's a good point. I didn't even see that. Yeah, you could say, well, if you have, I don't know if we've even talked about that yet. If we have 2 sides equal to each other, that means the opposite angles are equal. I don't think we've said that yet, but that is a theorem that we're going to do eventually, but we can't use it right now because I don't think we've talked about that yet. But what's one more obvious thing? Forget the angles. There's really not a way, except for that, to show that the angles are equal to each other, but there's something else. Look, I've got 1 pair of sides equal. So everybody look up here. John, let's look up here. I said let's everybody look up here, and you didn't even budge. Look at this. I got these 2 sides equal to each other. I've got these 2 sides equal to each other. What do you think might be another thing that I could find here? I got 1 pair of sides. I got 2 pair of sides. Well, no. What's that? The third side. What's the third side? DB and DB. That's right. Everybody see that? Look, DB is part of this triangle, isn't it? And DB is also a part of this triangle right here. So it's the same exact side, isn't it? So it's got to be equal to itself. Would you agree? This is how we show it. Watch this. You probably haven't seen this before. But I show it like this. I just put 3 tick marks on that one line. What does that mean? That means DB from this triangle equals DB from this triangle. Now look what I have. I got 1 pair of sides. I got 2 pair of sides. And I got a 3rd pair of sides. Guess what's true about these 2 triangles now? Now they're congruent, aren't they? You see it? So why are they congruent? I'll put it right here. Because what? What do I write down? Right. I write SSS, or side, side, side. We don't say SSS. We just say side, side, side. See the stuff in yellow right here? See the tick marks? And see the side, side, side? That's all you need for your answer. That's it. This is kind of like a modified proof, okay? I've kind of made it a little different than a regular proof. A regular proof, you'd have to give all the reasons and all this kind of stuff. We talked about the reasons, but I'm letting you guys get away with a little bit easier version than what maybe the honors class is going to do here, okay? So what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking to see if you mark these 2 sides equal. That's part of your answer. That's what I'm looking for on a quiz or a test, all right? And then I'm looking to see that these 2 are marked equal to each other, and I'm looking to see if this one in the middle between the 2 are marked equal, okay? And then I'm also looking for this. So I'm looking for the 3 tick marks, and I'm looking for the reason why the triangles are congruent. So far, we've only learned 2 ways to prove triangles congruent to each other. Tomorrow, we're going to learn 2 more ways. So we're going to have 4 ways altogether. All right, but today, we just know side, 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 angle, side. There's really no way with the information that we know right now that we could say any of these angles are equal to each other. but I can say that this third side is equal. Here's a reason. Do you remember in Algebra 1 when you did like, remember doing like associative property and commutative property and all that kind of stuff? Who said that? Reflexive. That's right. That's what this is right here. It's called the reflexive property because watch, dB equals dB. I mean, that kind of looks silly because you're like, well, of course something equals itself. But they actually have a rule for it. They actually have a property for it, and it's called the reflexive property. Now, normally, if we were doing a proof, you'd have to know that reason. I'm not making you learn that reason. I am showing it to you so that if you ever hear it again, it'll at least ring a bell to you, okay? So that would be the reason why this side on this triangle is equal to the same side on the other triangle. Make sense? And that would be reflexive property. And there you go. You got congruent triangles. That's all you have to do. It's really, really easy. Look, I went through way, way more explanation than what you have to do when you actually do the problem. All you got to do is mark these two, mark this one right here, and say side, 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 and bang, you're done. Pretty simple, isn't it? Let's do another one. Let's flip it over, and let's do number 3 on the other side. It's page 50 now. So this is the other side of the worksheet. It's page 50. Let's do number 3. It's kind of the same deal. It's almost identical to it, tell you the truth. Let me try to draw it out for you first. But it's always good to do things a couple times because it makes you learn it a little bit better. Put it right there. And this is R, V, and T down like this. And this is S over here. And they give you a given and a prove. Now again, for the homework tonight, you're going to be doing it from the book. Seems like that bell's rung about 15 times this class period, doesn't it? So RS is equal to TS. And it also says that V is the midpoint. This is almost identical to what we just finished doing of RT. In fact, why don't you take a minute, probably take you a few seconds, tell you the truth, and go ahead and do this. Write down what I would expect you to do on a quiz or a test. Go ahead and do it. It'd probably take you like 5 seconds. I mean, literally 5 seconds. I'm not even kidding. Go to a different color this time. All right, you should be finished. I mean, it literally should have taken that long, okay? From when I told you till now, you should have been able to get done. So what do? You look at the given, and what does it say? RS equals TS, right? So you mark those two. Simple. It says V is the midpoint. That's supposed to be a P right there. V is the midpoint of line segment RT. So if V is the midpoint, what does that tell you about this segment and this segment? That they're equal to each other. Do you see anything else that might be equal? VS and VS, very good. So look at that. Why are these triangles congruent to each other? Side, side, side. It's as easy as that, and you're done. That was easy, right? Do you understand why VS and VS are equal to each other? Because if I split this up, if I like split them up into 2 separate triangles, right, this triangle would be like up here, and this triangle would be down here, then this side would be shared by both of them. They're both exactly the same side. Josh, please do. All right, so this side on this triangle is equal to this side on this triangle because it's the same side, isn't it? All right, does that make sense? It may not look like it because I didn't draw it exactly perfect, but that's okay. If that's what they give you, that's what's true. And that's all it is. Look, those tick marks and side, 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 that is your answer. That's it. Pretty easy, isn't it? That's all you got to do. That's it. That's what it means. Let me do another one. Yes. Yeah. Let's do another one. I'm taking this one from the book. You don't see this in front of you, so write this down, okay? You probably have some spare room somewhere on that worksheet. Just write this one down, okay? Oops, I don't want that. I want this. There we go. So everybody should be writing this down right now. Everybody should be writing this down. I see people that haven't even budged. said this is from the book. You don't have it on your worksheet, so write it down. So I said write it down on your worksheet. You probably have some room right there on your worksheet. I know, but I just said it. That's the problem. Okay? That's the big problem. Oh my goodness. Watch. A, B, C, D, we call this. And let's write the given and the proof. So this is taken from the book. This is not on your worksheet. Okay, this is from the book. It's from some other problem. And I just found it and I thought we would do this. So they tell you that BA equals DC. So you write it down. So you should be drawing the picture. You should be writing down all the given. They also tell you that angle BAC is equal to angle DCA. They also, oh, that's it. That's all they tell you. And they want you to prove that line segment BC. Oh, this is a little trickier. I tell you what, I'm going to change this just a little bit from what they do. Oh my goodness, it's 2 letters. You got to erase. You got to be kidding me. Let's do this. Let's call this triangle ABC is congruent to triangle CDA. All right. Everybody, look at this. So now, let's go blue this time. So what do? We look at the given and we mark up our picture. Okay. Then we try to figure out why these triangles are congruent to each other. And again, this will be kind of what we did before, but a little bit different. So let's mark it. BA and DC. Well, where's BA? It's that top one, right? So we mark that one equal to DC, which is that one on the bottom. So that's your first step. Everybody should be able to do that. There shouldn't be any question about that, is there? Okay. Now look at this. Angle BAC. Now you got to find out where BAC is. Here's BAC. So which one is angle BAC? It's this little skinny one right there. And that's equal.
Could you mark anyone on line?
What do you mean anywhere on the line? Like right out here like this? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could have put your arc out here if you wanted to, as long as you just connect those two right there. Then DCA, right? DCA. So mark that angle right there. It's too much talking. So I've got the side marked. I've got this angle equal to this angle right here. That's all they tell you. Let's take a look at the picture and see if there's anything just by looking at the picture that we can tell might be true about this. AC is equal to AC. That's right. How do you know that AC is equal to AC? There's a property. We wrote it down just a minute ago. Reflexive property. Right. So I'll put 2 marks right there. Right. Now, they didn't tell you that, did they? You had to look at the picture and figure that out on your own. So sometimes they tell you stuff and you just mark it down. Sometimes you have to look at the picture and figure out what else might be true. We've already done this twice already, haven't we? That reflexive thing. So you should have been able to look at it and said, hey, this side right here on this triangle is the same side as this side down here on this triangle. What's that? You have to do that, yes, of course. So now look at that. What else can you tell? Can you say that BC and AD are equal to each other? You can? Why? Why? Look at them. Is that a good reason? It's not a good reason. Just because it looks like it doesn't make any difference. Okay, you can never see. You don't know it's 90 degrees. Did I put a right angle there? They're not all right angles. We don't know that. We don't know that they're all right angles. So the answer to this is we don't know that AD and BC are equal to each other. They might look like it, but we have to have something to base our fact on, okay? We can't say that AD and BC are equal to each other right now. So that, but really that's all we need anyway, because look what I have. I have a side, I have an angle, and I have a side. So John, say it again. Side, angle, side. Okay, so these 2 triangles are congruent because of side, angle, side. Now we say side, angle, side. We don't say SAS. We say side, angle, side. Now look at that angle. Where does that angle have to be? Can it just be any old angle? For instance, what if I did this? It's got to be in between the two sides. We call that the included angle. Look at this. What if I told you that this angle right here was equal to this angle right here? Can we say they're congruent now? We cannot. Not, because this angle, listen please, there's a lot of murmuring and talking. Let's stop. That's right. If I knew that AD and BC are equal to each other, we could go side angle side. But I don't know that they're equal, do I? So I can't use, if I had this angle and this angle equal to each other and just these two sides like this, I could not say that they were congruent to each other. All right, because it's not angle, it's not a side angle side. Okay? That angle has to be between the two sides. So let's put it back where it was. Oops, there we go. Okay? Now it's side angle side. Now I can say those two triangles are congruent. Does that make sense? That's very important. When you use side angle side, it can't just be any old angle. It has to be the angle that's where? Between those two sides. Do you see? Even on side angle side, it's stuck in between there, isn't it? Everybody get that? So the angle has to be between the two sides that we know are equal to each other. Hope that makes sense. Some of you guys are tuned out already. I can see it. All right? Not a good idea. Let's take a look at 4, 5, and 6 on page 50. It's a little bit different. The same basic philosophy, but you're not really proving the triangle's congruent. So let's do number 4. Let's take a look at number 4. And that whole side angle side thing will help us out for this problem. All right, so it kind of looks like this, and it kind of looks like this right there. And now look, they don't mark the angles or anything. All they do is this. Let's read the problem for 4, 5, and 6. Everybody looking at the worksheet? Come on, pay attention. Look at number 4, 5, and 6. It says, determine which postulate can be used. Now, when we say which postulate, we have two of them. What are the two postulates? We mentioned it earlier. Side, 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 and side angle side. No, we don't say SAS. We say, because I told you 100 times, we say side, 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 and side angle side. Because that's how we do it. That's it. That's what I want you to do. That's all that should matter to you. Okay? That's what we do. So just follow what I tell you to do. So we have two ways to prove the triangle's congruent. One is side, side, side. The other is side angle side. It says if it's not possible to prove the congruence, write not possible. So sometimes you don't have enough information to prove them congruent to each other. Kind of like up here. Remember this? It was only a minute ago. Watch this. What if that's all I was given? Can I say those two triangles are congruent by that much information? No. So I could not say that these triangles are congruent. They might look like it, but you can't say they are until you have enough information. All right? So let's take a look at this one right here. Let's take a look at this. This is the only thing that they tell you, that this side and this side are equal to each other. Is there anything else that we could look at this triangle and say might be true? Any sides equal to each other? Any other angles equal to each other? Say it, Vishan. The vertical angles, exactly right. Look at this. See this angle right here? Just looking at it, you know that they are equal to each other. Okay, not by guessing, not by saying, not... Listen to me, let me explain. Okay, I'm in the middle of my explanation. I'm trying. Right here, it's not just because they look like they're equal to each other. It's because they're vertical angles. Because what's a vertical angle? When you have two line segments that intersect each other, they form two pairs of vertical angles. We don't just look at them and say, oh, they look like they're equal to each other. We know for a fact that the angles that are opposite each other are equal to each other. All right? It's not a matter of just looking at it and say, hey, they look like they're equal. No, we're not doing that. We know for a fact that if this line and this line intersect each other, these two angles across from each other are equal angles. All right? We learned that because we learned some time ago that vertical angles are equal to each other. All right? So it's not a matter of just looking at it and saying, oh, they look like it, so that's why. That's not why. It's because they're vertical angles. Is there anything else on these two triangles that I could say are equal to each other? What about like this angle up here? Could I say it's equal to any angle down here? What, this one? How do you say it? But how do you know they're equal to each other? What reason? This angle and this angle right here, they're not vertical angles. Come on. Okay, you were going to go alternate interior. Okay, like this one and this one. But what has to be true about alternate interior angles? You got to have parallel lines. Do we know that this line and this line are parallel? No, we don't. Nah, the tick mark doesn't mean they're parallel. What does the tick mark mean? Right, the arrow means they're parallel. The tick mark just means they're equal to each other in length. Okay, so we don't know they're parallel. Now it's a good idea though, because there will be some times where they will tell you that this and this are parallel to each other. If they were parallel to each other, then you're absolutely right that this angle here and this angle down here would be equal to each other. But we don't know that on this problem right here they're doing, because we don't know that this and this are parallel. Everybody with me? So can we say that these triangles are congruent? Can we show all three sides equal to all three sides? Absolutely not. Can we even go side angle side? Not, because I need at least another side, don't I? So can you say the triangles are congruent? No. And what do they tell you? They say, right, it's not possible. And that's what our answer is. They might look like they're congruent triangles, but just because they look like it doesn't mean they are. All right, we have to back it up with certain facts, and we don't have the facts to back it up. Yeah, but that's not a triangle. Vertical angles are congruent, but we want to prove the whole entire triangle is congruent to this whole entire triangle. Just because you got one pair of angles equal doesn't mean the triangles are congruent. We're trying to prove the whole triangle is congruent. You don't have to prove all the angles congruent. In fact, you don't even have to show that any of the angles are congruent. If I can show all three sides of one triangle equaling all three sides of another triangle, that's enough to make the triangles congruent. We've done that twice before. We did that twice before. What? If all three sides were equal to all three sides, but we couldn't show that on that problem right there. Can only show one side because that's the only side that they gave us, and so you can't say that they're congruent triangles. Good. All right, here's another picture. Kind of looks familiar. And we got to figure out if they're congruent, and if they are, we got to give a reason why. Now watch. They say that this side is equal to this side. They say that this one and this one are equal, and they also throw in a right angle right there. But you got to give a reason. I want you to give me a reason why they're congruent to each other. The middle line again, exactly right. Okay, when you see this situation right here, there's one set of of equal sides, and here's another set of equal sides. Where's the third one? Right there, because it's shared by both of the triangles, isn't it? Look up here. Is there one side that's shared by both of these triangles here? No. There's not, okay? But on this one, there is one entire side that's shared by both of the triangles, isn't there? All right. So what could I say? Are these triangles congruent? Yeah, they are. Why? Side, side, side. Because of side, side, side. That's the reason. If I ask you why, or back up your reasoning, okay, you would say side, side, side. And that was it. Well, let's take a look at this. There's another way. Now that we marked this side, do you see another way why these triangles might be congruent? Side angle side now also, right? Okay, we could go side, 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 right? Because we got 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks. On this triangle, we got 1, 2, and 3. So they're congruent by side, side, side. But watch. Since I said that this side was equal, I could go what? Side, angle. Because if this is 90, what's this one right here? That's 90 as well. 90s are equal, aren't they? So I could go side, angle, side. Right? Side, angle, side. So I'll put or side, angle, side. What does or mean? It could be this one, or it could be this one, right? Either one. It doesn't matter. What if I did this? What if I never said anything about this third side right here? Is this congruent because of side, angle, side with the information that I've shown right here? Well, I've got 2 sides and an angle, but the problem is, what's true about this angle? Yeah, but 90 degrees doesn't matter. What's, according to this side angle side, it's not where though? Thank you. What did we say had to be true about that angle? That angle had to be where? In between the 2 sides, right? Look at this angle right here. Is this angle in between these 2 sides? It's not, is it? Okay, so can I say it's side angle side just from this information right here? No, I can't. I would have to do this. Now can I say it's side angle side? Yes, because it's between these two sides, right? These two pair of equal sides. A little confusing, but that angle has to be where? Between those two sides. You get it?
Mr. Hammer,
Yes.
when you put an angle between the other two sides?
But you don't know that they're equal to each other. Okay, you don't know they're equal to each other. So if you did, and in fact, that's what I was going to get to in a second. So let me do this. You guys watching? Let's pay attention up here, please. Watch this. What if this was given and this was given, and let's say I said that this angle was equal to this angle? Could you say these triangles are congruent now? Yeah. For what reason? Side angle side. Why? Because that angle is where? It's between those two sides. So sure, I could. What if I did this? What if I said that this angle and this angle are equal? Could I say these triangles are congruent just by this information on the triangles right now? Could I say that they're congruent now? Come on, let's think about what we've talked about.
You could.
Why? What reason would you have?
Wait, no.
It's not in between.
Because it's not in between. Exactly right. That's what I'm getting. I want you to see that. Look, this angle is not between these two sides. Do you see it? So by the information that's given right now on this picture, this angle is not in between these two sides, so you can't say that they're congruent to each other. Make sense? What if I did this? Now can you say side angle side? Yeah, because this angle is between these two sides. Do you see it? So now you could say side angle side if you wanted to, but you have to show that third side right there equal. Make sense? All right. Let's do, we got time. Let's do a couple more. All right. We don't have to do 1 and 2. You just have to do 3 through 6. Yeah. No, I even wrote down, when I assigned that, I wrote down what problems you had to do. All right, let's look at this. Now this should start looking. Oops, let's go to my line tool. This should start looking pretty easy to you now. Now watch this. They give you, just let me finish this. This should be really simple at this point. Are these triangles congruent? If they are, tell me why.
They share the same.
They do share the same side. That's one of the things you need to look for. So they're congruent because what reason? Side, side, side. As simple as that. It's easy, isn't it? Let's do one more. It's not much harder. So we've seen that side, side, side. I mean, that's a piece of cake now, don't you think? Oops, let me grab it, put it down here like this. And we saw one that kind of looked like this earlier, but it's different information. Okay, watch what they do. They tell you that this side and this side are equal, and they also tell you that this side and this side are equal. All right, now look at this. That's all they tell you. Everybody paying attention? Heads up, watching, think. Let's think. Are these triangles congruent? And if so, why are they congruent? They're not congruent.
No, it's side angle side.
Right, you can't go side, side, side though, can you? All right, but you got the vertical angle. That's right, we saw that earlier. You should look for that. So now take a look at them. Now are they congruent to each other? Absolutely. Side, angle, side. See that? 1 mark, the angle, 2 marks. We got 1 mark, the angle, and 2 marks. And the angle is in between the 2 marks, aren't they? The angle's between the 2 sides, so that would be side, angle, side. What do you think? It's pretty easy now, don't you think? I think it's pretty simple. All right. So that's the kind of stuff that you're going to be doing. Let me give you a little assignment. This is from your book, so you're going to have to take your book home tonight. So write this down, please. So it's section 4.4 from the book. Write it down. Page 267, 268. And it's 5 and 6. And it's 12 to 15. I'll just write them all out. 13, 14, 15. Okay? And that's your homework right there. It's from the book. So every one of these, I want you to draw the picture on your paper. I want you to write what's given, write what you have to prove, then mark your picture and tell me why the triangles are congruent to each other. Okay? Now you're going to see some of these say write a flow proof. Okay, some are going to say write a 2-column proof. Some are going to say write a paragraph proof. Okay, look, I'm revising this, okay? You don't have to worry about what any of that stuff means. You just do what we did up here, right there, okay? This is the kind of stuff that you have to do right here, all right? You write the picture, you write the given, you write what you're supposed to prove, you mark your picture up, give me a good reason why that's congruent, and then you're done. That's all you have to do. Everybody got that? All right. So that will be due tomorrow. Get it done tonight, and we'll turn it in tomorrow. That worksheet that we went over today, I do want that. Pass it to the front, and I'll collect it from the front row.